Picture this: Ouagadougou, August 2025. A room filled with lawmakers, not one voice of dissent, not even a whisper. The parliament of Burkina Faso rises, and with a unanimous vote, passes a law that shakes the country, rattles the continent, and sets off ripples across the globe. Homosexuality is now officially banned in Burkina Faso. The punishment? 2 to 5 years behind bars. But this is not just about a law. This is about culture, identity, power, geopolitics, and the clash between African traditions and Western influence. And tonight, we're diving deep into the storm. Stay with me, because this story will take you from the streets of Ouagadougou to the parliament halls of Mali, to the death penalty debates in Uganda, and even to the global chessboard where leaders like Ibrahim Traoré are redefining sovereignty in real time. Part 1: The Law and its Shockwaves. On Monday night, Burkina Faso's state broadcaster made the announcement: the amended family code banning homosexuality had finally been approved. This wasn't some rushed decree. No, this was a year in the making, pushed by the military government of Captain Ibrahim Traoré and sealed now with a parliament vote. Justice Minister Idasso Rodrigue Bayala didn't mince words. On live television, he called homosexuality bizarre behavior and warned, "You will go before the judge." Fines, prison time, public shame, all wrapped under the banner of marriage and family values. Here's the catch: inside Burkina Faso, this law isn't controversial. It's popular. It's celebrated by many who argue homosexuality is a foreign import, a cultural Trojan horse smuggled in from abroad. And Burkina Faso isn't alone. Over half of Africa's 54 countries already criminalize same-sex relations, with punishments ranging from prison sentences to the death penalty. Part 2: The neighbors follow suit. To understand the scale, let's look at Burkina Faso's closest ally, Mali. In November 2024, Mali's own military junta passed a nearly identical law. The timing isn't coincidence. Mali and Burkina Faso aren't just allies, they're partners in a new regional identity, one that rejects Western pressure and leans on tradition. Go further east, and the picture gets even darker. Uganda has gone as far as introducing the death penalty for what it calls aggravated homosexuality. Ghana, a democratic darling in the eyes of the West, has also tightened its anti-gay laws. The pattern is undeniable. Across Africa, there's a growing wave of resistance to LGBTQ+ rights. Part 3: Clash of Civilizations. Now pause and think about this. To many Western nations, these laws are outrageous, human rights violations, medieval relics in the 21st century. But to leaders in Ouagadougou, Bamako, Kampala, and Accra, the argument is simple: this isn't about hate, it's about sovereignty, culture, and rejecting outside influence. Here's the narrative from their side: colonialism may have ended on paper, but cultural imperialism never stopped. What they see is Western governments, NGOs, and activists trying to impose values alien to African traditions. So when Burkina Faso passes a law like this, supporters argue it's a defense of identity, not an act of aggression. But at what cost? Because while the junta celebrates family values, rights groups are sounding alarms. They argue this is just one more way the government silences opposition, restricts freedoms, and diverts attention from Burkina Faso's real crisis: jihadist insurgency, poverty, and instability. Part 4: Ibrahim Traoré's Shadow. Let's bring in the man at the center of it all, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Since seizing power in September 2022 during Burkina Faso's second coup of the year, he has built himself up as a Pan-African warrior, the young soldier defying France, rejecting Western aid, and calling for African unity. His speeches light up TikTok, his fiery words go viral on Facebook, and his message of independence resonates with Africa's restless youth. But behind the speeches lies a country still at war with itself: villages under attack, civilians displaced, and critics jailed or conscripted into the military. For Traoré, passing a law like this serves two purposes. 1. It bolsters his image as the defender of African values. 2. It cements his grip on power by riding the wave of popular opinion, even as rights groups accuse him of stifling dissent. Part 5: Global Reactions and the Bigger Game. So what happens now? Expect Western governments, NGOs, and human rights watchdogs to condemn Burkina Faso, to issue statements, maybe even consider sanctions. But here's the twist: sanctions and criticism often backfire. Instead of weakening leaders like Traoré, they strengthen them. Every foreign rebuke becomes proof of the West meddling in African affairs. And for the average Burkinabe, who has lived under terrorism, poverty, and corruption, the idea of standing tall against Western dictates feels like victory. Meanwhile, across the continent, more governments are watching closely. Will Burkina Faso's move inspire others to double down? Will it trigger a domino effect? Or will it eventually backfire, costing the junta international allies and much-needed aid? The question for the future. Here's the nail-biting truth. Burkina Faso's new law isn't just about who you love or how you live. It's about the future of Africa's identity, sovereignty, and place in the world. It pits cultural traditions against global human rights standards. It asks a question with no easy answer. Should nations define their own moral codes, even if it clashes with universal rights? Captain Ibrahim Traoré is betting his political future on one side of that question. And as the law takes effect immediately, real people, neighbors, friends, sons, daughters, now face prison time for choices the state calls bizarre. So here's where I'll leave you. Is Burkina Faso defending its cultural soul, or is it weaponizing tradition to mask deeper crises? Because whether you agree or not, one thing is clear. The world is watching. The continent is watching. And history is being written in Ouagadougou. Before you go, here is a breaking news. Any Burkinabe found colluding with fellow citizens, foreigners, or foreign states in actions against the interests of Burkina Faso will be stripped of their nationality. This new law, adopted yesterday by the National Assembly, now awaits promulgation by President Ibrahim Traoré. This moment should serve as a wake-up call to every traitor who seeks to undermine Burkina Faso. It must also stand as a reminder that betrayal has consequences. More importantly, it should become the catalyst for stamping out insurgency across the entire Sahel. The region has suffered too long at the hands of those who profit from chaos, and now is the time for unity, resilience, and decisive action to restore stability and sovereignty. I hope to see an Africa that is 100% free and fair for every single person, where justice, opportunity, and dignity are not privileges but rights. A continent that stands tall without outside influence, manipulation, or sabotage. An Africa that writes its own story, makes its own choices, and reaps the full fruits of its own resources. What do you think? Is this a battle for African sovereignty, or a dangerous slide into authoritarianism? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because these are the stories that define not just Africa's future, but the global future. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, feel free to drop a super thanks, a super sticker, or hit up the super chat. It really helps us keep the good stuff coming.